Hello everybody, I am looking forward to this video today. It will be a little bit different than anything that I have prepared for you in the past. I will be canning green beans today, but I will be water bath canning them, which is something that they used for centuries for canning, was water bath canning. I am not only going to water bath can, which seems to be against the rules of a lot of institutions, but I will be adding a little something into each jar to stop my green beans from fading in color. In fact, it may enhance their color. So if you want to stop right now and move on, I would understand. I will be filling you in when I come back from this. I've seen lots of people recently, and I've had quite a number of inquiries on whether or not you can safely can vegetables and meat using the old water bath canners. I want to just say right up front that that is the way my family did it for generations, but it is not approved by the institutions who make those decisions. There are still millions of people around the world who are using the water bath method to can and preserve their food. That doesn't make it safe, but it does give us an idea of the amount of food that's being canned and preserved by just everyone that's out there. I have a pressure canner. Today I'm going to use it as a water bath canner, but not everybody has that available to them. In no way am I promoting the use of the water bath canning over pressure canning. This is not a video that I would say to you, go out and follow my directions exactly. This is an experiment, and I want you to take that information as such and determine your own level of comfort moving forward. I will not be responsible for your food experiments that may go bad. You need to be doing your own homework and figuring out your level of safety for yourself. So that being said, this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to mix up a few different methods because I do have some levels of comfort that I want to stay within. I found a wonderful resource on the internet. It is called, and I'm going to read this off, it is called archive.org, and it has tons of old books that have gone to the Internet Archive, and you can go there and look at them, and if you sign up for a free account with them, you can download PDF files or text files of the recipes in the canning section that you're interested in. There are a lot, I should say. The one that I looked at today when I was looking for recipes was called Canning and Preserving by Mrs. S.T. Rohrer. That's R-O-R-E-R. And this book was published in 1887, so a long time ago. The directions for canning beans, which is what I'm going to be working on today, says string the beans and cut them into several pieces lengthwise. Throw into boiling water, boil rapidly 15 minutes. Have the jars ready, filled with warm water to slightly heat. Empty and fill quickly with the beans and adjust the rubbers. Cover the bottom of a wash boiler with a rack or a roll of hay. Add a half a teaspoon of salt to each jar. and fill with cold water. Lay the tops on, cover the boiler, and boil for 1.5 hours. Lift one jar at a time, fasten into place the rims, and place to cool. Now, we have come to believe, and the scientists have shown us this, that this might not be the best method of doing it. But I remember from my childhood beans being crisper and having more flavor than the ones that are coming out of my pressure canner today. So today I am going to do a couple of different methods here, and it's going to be a little bit on the scientific side. The reason that the institutions are strict about the rules is that our health and safety is at risk here. I don't think any of us wants to knowingly hurt somebody with our food or possibly kill them with our food that we've worked so hard to preserve. The reason that they are so concerned is that botulism is a spore that gets into food. It's on the surface of most everything. That when you put it into a jar, the food stuff into the jar, and there's any, and all the air is being taken out, that's when botulism grows, when there's no air. Believe it or not, that's how that works. So I had a look too at some of the statistics. Now, botulism in the US, there's about 110 cases, according to the CDC, about 110 cases per year. And that has risen a bit. 30 to 40% of those cases are wound botulism. And the primary way that you would get wound botulism is from having dirty injection sites if you were a drug user. The biggest, then there is some infant botulism, which is a condition that a child, a baby, gets in their stomach, inside their intestines, where there's not any air present, and the botulism spore can grow there. And the last way is by improperly prepared food. Most of this improperly prepared or properly preserved food is a food that has come out of native cultures, particularly Alaska. I saw on the CDC website where indigenous people are practicing the methods that have been common to them and their ancestors for thousands of years. And as a result, the levels of safety are not there the same way that they are in the rest of society. That all being said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try and replicate some of the flavor and the color and texture that my grandmother managed to achieve, and I am going to do that by a couple of different methods. The first thing that we have to do is just take the green beans. Now, I've topped and tailed the green beans. As you know, that can be a tedious process, but I got that all done earlier, and I'm just going to pack these into jars. I have about 5 pounds here. These today didn't come from the they came from the grocery store, not the farmer's market, although I went to the farmer's market today and got some lovely things. They didn't have any green beans yet. The peas are in, but the green beans are not ready yet. So I went to the grocery store and I bought green beans so that I could do this experiment today. One of the things that's always kind of bothered me about canning green beans, and I can some every year, but I don't like how they lose their color and they kind of get mushy. So that's what I am going to be working on today, is how can I safely can these and maintain the color and the texture. I have, through all my research on the internet, found several different old cookbooks that tell you the different times that you should be using for canning green beans. I watched a young woman, whose name I don't recall at the moment, who was canning, or no, sorry, she wasn't canning the product. She had interviewed an Amish lady who had been canning for many years, as the generations in her family had before her, and they were quite, she was quite interested. Is that the right phrase? No, I don't think so. She was maybe a little more astonished that we pressure can. They don't even know what pressure canners are. Well, that's not true. They know what pressure canners are. They just prefer not to use them. So she was surprised that we used pressure canners so extensively. And she shared some of her recipes that she had used for canning various things. And basically, the way the Amish do it is they put almost everything into canning jars, and they put them into a water bath canner, the seals on into a water bath canner, and they can them for 3 hours. Now, some of the vegetables, they don't can that quite that long, but they even can meat, all the different kinds of meat that you can imagine, they can in a water bath canner. And I really appreciated the bravery of this young woman, because these days on social media, if you present something that people don't necessarily agree with, they're not afraid to tell you in fact, I had it happen to me. Almost my second video out, and people said, that is not a safe method of canning, and you're going to kill somebody, and I'm glad that you're not part of my family, and on and on. They can be quite harsh. So I commend her bravery for putting that out there, even though there was going to be lots of harsh criticism, I'm sure. I think that learning about other cultures and how they can and preserve can only be a benefit to us, can't it? Like, to see it happen. There are more and more canning videos now coming out of countries overseas, like the Ukraine and Poland and places like that, the Mediterranean even, who definitely don't pressure can things. In fact, you look at the way they can and preserve, and you wonder how that could even work, but it does. So it's all about the level of comfort and for you and your family. And I've heard it said on some of the canning rebel sites that it's your kitchen, your rules, and I think that's a pretty good way of you know, saying how you feel about it. By the same token, I guess, if you're brave enough to put yourself out there with a method that hasn't been approved, then you need to be prepared to stand up and take the heat. And I think that they've come at me before, and they probably will again. And I am happy to be sharing this. One of the things I know I've shared before with you is that I'm a historian, and that's what took me back to these old recipes. Now, the canner that I'm going to use today is my electric canner, and I'm not sure this company would be happy with me sharing information when I'm doing a rebel canning video, but so I won't say the name of that. Put her back there. I am going to add 1/2 of a teaspoon this is Mediterranean sea salt, so no additives in it. I've got 5 jars because that's how many I'll fit in my small batch canner. And the Amish way of preparing beans says that we're going to put them in the water bath canner for 2.5 hours. I have to go back and look at that. Yeah, I think 2.5 hours. And I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of vinegar to that jar right there, and 1 teaspoon of vinegar to this jar. Let me see what I've got going on. Vinegar, salt, vinegar, salt. I guess they're all going to get some vinegar. And I'm going to let you know at the end of this. I'll open these jars so that you have some idea. I'm curious too, because I've not added vinegar before. I'm curious as to whether or not you'll be able to taste it when the product is finished canning. Now, this is the kind of unusual bit maybe. I have been reading, like I said, lots of these old cooking manuals and so forth. And it says, if you want to keep your green beans green, like vibrant green, and not lose the color, that you should add 1 50 milligram zinc tablet. Just it's a mineral that we take as a supplement, just to the top of the jar. So I'm going to add 1 in that one and 1 in that one. And then I'm going to fill these jars with water. And these are vinegar, salt, and zinc tablets. It's a real experiment today. I haven't done this before this way, and well, holy smokes. Look at that, like it was meant to be. Now I'm going to use a skewer, and I'm just going to go around the jar and make sure that there's no air pockets in these jars. And I'm going to keep them. So I want to make sure that I get all of the air bubbles out. These 2 jars right here, I have just put the vinegar and salt in. And I have the lids marked. And I can see that I didn't mark this one correctly. So I'm going to do that now. Vinegar and salt. Whoops. And then I will do the other ones. These are the 2 with the zinc tablets in them. Just go around. Now, off camera a moment ago, I wiped down all the rims to make sure there were no particles around the rims. And I'm going to put the lids on. They're marked with the VSZ. Hopefully my Sharpie doesn't come off in the long water bath process. And then this last one is just vinegar and salt. Now I do think that the vinegar in them would be really helpful anyway, and because it'll help with different kinds of botulism. Sorry, different kinds of bacteria. But we'll play it by ear. We'll see. I'm learning this and maybe teaching you something at the same time. I'm just going to put the bands on. I am using 4 jars canning lids. I've really come to count on this product. Watched any of my older videos, you will have noticed that. Now I just need 2 bands. I need to reach over for them. And although sometimes I reuse my rims or my seals, this time I didn't. I wanted new ones to give this a proper chance of success. I have tightened these down, but not reefed on them. They are maybe a little more than fingertip tight. and I'm going to put these into my water bath canner, and I'm going to water bath can them for 2.5 hours. And once they've cooled and they've had a chance to set, I will come back and I'm going to open 1 jar of the vinegar, salt, zinc, and 1 jar without the zinc in it, and we're going to compare the colors and the texture and see if this is a better product than what I've been getting out of my pressure canner. I will be back to you before you know it. And here is my experiment with green beans that I promised to show you the results of. Now, I'm not sure if you can see the results on camera, so I'm going to hold them up really as close as I can get them, and then I'm going to talk about them a little bit as I drain them and taste them. So this one over here on my left was just done with a little bit of vinegar and salt. This one, wow, that was crazy. This one over here on my right hand, I'm not sure what that is to you, but this one right here, this one was just canned using the 2.5-hour water bath method with a teaspoon of vinegar and a half a teaspoon of salt in this pint jar. This one over here in my left hand was in the same canner load. I water bath these beans for 2.5 hours, and this one contains vinegar, salt, and a 50 milligram tablet of zinc. Now, I had quite the lookup for this because I had concerns that maybe we could overdose on zinc. The daily recommended amount of zinc for an adult is 50 milligrams a day. Sorry, 40 milligrams a day. And we put a 50 milligram tablet into this jar. So that had me a bit concerned. And then I realized that most of the tablet would dissolve in the water and be drained off, because we don't normally drink the juice out, or the water of the beans, unless we're going to put it in a super stew and we want that in there. But something I also noticed was the amount of sediment on the bottom, and that has to be the zinc tablets, because this one over here doesn't have that. It only has the little bits of beans. So I'm feeling quite confident that the amount of zinc in here would be diminished by a lot. So I'm no longer concerned about whether or not the zinc would cause me issues. So these two, because I was doing them the old-fashioned way, I put a bit of vinegar in them because I was water bathing them, and I felt I needed that little bit of help. I am going to drain them off, and I'm going to taste them because the proof is in the pudding, so they say. I want my food to taste good, and it was one of the reasons I've tried this experiment, was to find out whether or not this could be really helpful. So I'm going to drain them, put them on 2 plates, then I'll angle the camera down so that you can see them and see if you notice the difference in the color. I do in the jar, but I'm not sure it's enough to make me do that again. So the taste will be what helps me to make up my mind. Now, again, this one over here, this is the one with the vinegar and salt. And I'm going to try and hold it up there a little bit steady so you can see the color. And now I'm going to taste them. I think it's a little too salty. Maybe not a half a teaspoon of salt in them. And maybe the vinegar has something to do with that. But you cannot taste the vinegar. Sorry, you cannot taste the vinegar in this, which surprised me because I was sure I'd be able to. I would say that the texture really hasn't changed as far as whether I would can them using pressure or can them using water bath. I was hoping for a little better texture. This one over here is the one that had the zinc added to it. Oh, I hope that's going to focus. So they are a little brighter green. There isn't any doubt about that. Now, flavor. Okay, so I put the same amount of salt in, but these seem less salty for some reason. This is the ones with the zinc. So the zinc is there to help brighten the color. I don't know the science behind it. I just know that I've seen some people in some of the old recipes using zinc tablets, so I thought I'd give it a try. This, I don't taste any difference. So there's no like lingering aftertaste from the zinc, nor do I taste the vinegar. So I would consider this a success as far as water bath canning goes. And I appreciate that you've come along with me on this crazy experiment of mine. And I hope that we can demystify some of the information that's being given out regarding water bath canning and the ability to can stuff other than tomatoes and fruit. But each person has to do what they feel is safe for them in their kitchen. So if you found this video at all helpful, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share this with your friends. I look forward to being with you again soon, and I hope that until we meet again, everyone is well and safe. So take care, everyone. Bye-bye.